They said no one survives the Blackwood. My stepmother made sure I wouldn't. She poisoned me, broke my ribs, and threw me into forbidden werewolf territory, but what she didn't know was that the forest was waiting, and so was the Obsidian Lycan King. Chapter 1. The night the forest chose me. The first time my stepmother tried to kill me, she used kindness. The second time she used poison. The third time she made certain I would never crawl back. That night the moon hung low and swollen over the estate, heavy with silver light. The kind of moon that stirs instincts and unsettles even the strongest wolves. The air felt charged, restless. I should have recognized it as a warning. Instead, I walked straight into the trap. Elara was waiting for me in the east corridor, her golden hair cascading over her shoulders, eyes glistening with tears that would have convinced anyone else. She had perfected that look, fragile, wounded, delicate. Warriors softened around her. Elders excused her temper. Even my father mistook her manipulation for innocence. "You need to stop," she whispered as I approached. "Stop what?" She trembled, clutching the edge of the marble column. "Trying to take what belongs to me." The accusation barely registered before Marissa's voice cut through the hallway. I knew it. She emerged from the shadows, graceful and composed, silver gown flowing like liquid moonlight. Every inch of her radiated authority. She had earned her title as Luna through calculation rather than compassion. "I tried to guide you," she said, studying me with clinical detachment. "I offered you protection. A place. All you had to do was remain small. Remain small." Those words echoed inside my chest. I had spent years shrinking myself, speaking softly and avoiding attention. Accepting blame for things I had never done. Yet something about me unsettled them. Wolves turned their heads when I passed. Pups stopped crying in my presence. Even seasoned warriors inhaled sharply, as if catching an unfamiliar scent on the wind. I never understood why. Until that night. Elara stepped forward, producing a small crystal vial from behind her back. The liquid inside shimmered faintly. Recognition sent a chill through me. Wolfsbane mixed with iron ash. A blend designed to cripple wolf bloodlines from within. "You would poison me?" My voice sounded distant even to my own ears. Marissa's gaze remained steady. "You leave us very little choice." Before I could move, Elara flung the contents into my face. The liquid burned instantly. It seeped through my skin like acid, flooding my bloodstream with suffocating heat. My knees buckled. The world tilted. I tried to shift. My wolf answered with silence. Panic tightened around my throat. My body convulsed as the toxins spread, dulling strength, muting instinct. My senses, usually sharp, alive, dimmed into haze. Marissa approached slowly, crouching beside me. Her perfume masked the scent of cruelty clinging to her skin. "You were born wrong," she murmured. "And wrong things must be corrected." A kick struck my ribs. Then another. Pain splintered through bone. Air escaped my lungs in shallow gasps. I tasted copper. Elara's voice drifted above me, stripped of its sweetness. "No one will question it. The Blackwood takes many." The Blackwood. Even weakened, the name struck like a blade. Every child within the territories knew the boundaries. Ancient trees formed a natural border, their bark blackened by age and something far older. Beyond that line lay the domain of the Obsidian Pack. And beyond them rumors. Whispers of the Lycan King. A ruler older than treaties. A sovereign whose authority extended through shadow and silence. Warriors spoke his title carefully, as though the forest itself listened. Marissa's fingers tightened in my hair. "You should have learned obedience," she said softly. The corridor faded into darkness. When consciousness returned, it came in fragments. Cold wind brushed against my skin. My body lay wrapped in coarse fabric, bound at the wrists. Movement jostled me, rough terrain beneath wheels. They were taking me away. I forced my eyes open. Night stretched endlessly overhead. The scent of damp earth and ancient wood filled my lungs. Even through the lingering poison, I recognized it instantly. Blackwood. The vehicle halted. Doors creaked open. Strong arms dragged me out, hauling my weight as though I were refuse. The forest loomed ahead, towering trees woven together in a canopy that swallowed moonlight. Shadows pooled thick between their trunks. The air vibrated with an energy that raised goosebumps along my arms. Alara's laughter sliced through the quiet. "Deep enough," she instructed. My body struck the ground as they flung me forward. The impact forced a cry from my throat. Pain flared along my spine. I attempted to rise, but my limbs responded sluggishly. Marissa's silhouette appeared above me one final time. "Goodbye." Footsteps retreated. Engine roared. Silence followed. I lay motionless for several breaths, listening as the vehicle disappeared beyond the tree line. The Blackwood did not feel like ordinary wilderness. It felt aware. Leaves shifted without wind. Branches creaked with measured patience. A pulse throbbed beneath the soil, faint yet unmistakable. I rolled onto my side, forcing air into aching lungs. The poison still lingered, but its grip weakened gradually. My wolf stirred faintly, confused and restless. Then everything stilled. Birds' songs ceased, insects fell quiet. The entire forest seemed to inhale. A presence entered the clearing. Heavy footsteps pressed into the earth with controlled precision. Each stride carried authority. Power radiated through the air, dense and commanding. I did not need to see him to understand. The Obsidian Lycan King. Even injured, instinct urged submission. My pulse quickened under the weight of his proximity. He stopped a few paces away. For a moment neither of us moved. Then he approached. Boots crushed fallen leaves. The scent of smoke, steel, and something wild surrounded me. Strong fingers tilted my chin upward. Moonlight revealed him in fragments. Dark hair, sharp features carved by discipline, eyes reflecting silver fire. He studied me with intense concentration. "You crossed into sacred territory," he said, voice low and resonant. "Few attempt it. None survive." I struggled to respond. My throat burned. Words dissolved into breath. His gaze sharpened. He inhaled slowly. The air shifted. Something passed through his expression, surprise followed by recognition. "That scent," he murmured. His wolf stirred beneath the surface of his skin. I felt it in the charged atmosphere like electricity before a storm. He leaned closer, examining the faint bruises along my jaw, the cuts across my arms. "You were brought here." It was not a question. Strength drained from my limbs. Darkness pressed in at the edges of my vision. He lifted me effortlessly, cradling my weight against his chest. The heat of his body contrasted with the cold seeping through mine. My heart faltered. One beat, another, and then stillness. Everything went silent inside me. I sensed it the instant my pulse ceased. A strange calm spread through my body, replacing pain with weightless suspension. Yet the forest reacted. Wind tore violently through the clearing, bending branches with feral force. The ground trembled beneath us. A crimson hue washed across the moon, staining the sky. The Lycan King's grip tightened. "No," he commanded, as though addressing fate itself. Energy surged through my veins. It flowed from the earth into my spine, threading through bone and marrow. My lungs expanded sharply as air rushed back in. My heart slammed against my ribs with renewed strength. I opened my eyes. The world appeared different, sharper, layered with movement and shadow. I could see currents in the air, subtle tremors beneath the soil. The Lycan King froze. Our gazes locked. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then his wolf surfaced fully, not in aggression but in acknowledgement. "You carry sovereign blood," he said quietly. The word echoed inside my mind. Sovereign. A truth long buried beneath fear and control. The forest settled around us as though satisfied. Something within me awakened, completely vast, patient, ancient. The girl my stepmother had beaten into submission dissolved in that clearing. In her place stood something new. Something the Blackwood recognized and chose. The Lycan King lowered his head slightly, not in surrender but in respect. "You will not die here," he declared. A subtle shift rippled through the bondless air between us. The night had transformed from execution to ascension. And far beyond the trees, Unaware of the storm they had unleashed, my stepmother and stepsister slept peacefully for now because the forest remembers and it always returns what is owed. Chapter 2. The King Who Smelled Sovereignty. I did not awaken gently. Consciousness surged through me like a breaking tide, powerful, disorienting, undeniable. The forest breathed with me. I felt it in the soil beneath my palms, in the air sliding across my skin, in the distant pulse of creatures hidden beyond the trees. Every living thing carried rhythm, and somehow, I stood at the center of it. The Lycan King had not moved. He remained kneeling before me in the clearing, dark gaze steady, assessing without hesitation. Moonlight traced the sharp angles of his face, illuminating strength carved by centuries of dominance. "You returned from death," he said calmly. It was a statement of fact. I pushed myself upright. My ribs, fractured only moments before, held firm. My breathing flowed evenly. The poison that had once strangled my veins was gone, dissolved as though it had never existed. I studied my hands. The faint bruising had vanished. My senses sharpened further. I could hear the distant movement of paws against bark half a mile away. I could detect the faintest shift in temperature across the clearing. This was beyond healing. Beyond a simple awakening. Something immense had settled beneath my skin. "You should be weakened," he continued. "Instead you radiate." His wolf stirred beneath his composure, curious rather than aggressive. The air thickened with restrained force. "Why did the forest answer me?" I asked. The sound of my own voice startled me. It carried resonance, a subtle undercurrent that seemed to vibrate through the ground. The Lycan King rose slowly to his full height. He stood well over most warriors I had known, broad-shouldered, controlled, undeniably formidable. Yet the dominance in his posture did not press down on me the way alphas once had. It measured, evaluated. "You did not cross into my territory by accident," he replied. "You were brought as sacrifice." The word lingered between us. Sacrifice. A flicker of memory surfaced. Marissa's expression as she watched me collapse. Alara's laughter fading into the night. "They meant for me to die," I said quietly. His gaze darkened. "They underestimated what flows through your blood." Wind whispered through the canopy overhead, carrying faint murmurs I could almost understand. The forest no longer felt foreign. Felt attentive. "You recognized it," I said, "when you inhaled." He inclined his head slightly. "I have ruled these lands for a long time. I know the scent of every lineage within 100 miles. His eyes sharpened. "Yours does not belong to any of them." A tremor rippled through my chest. I had always sensed difference. The subtle recoil of others. The unspoken tension in rooms I entered. I had blamed myself for it, believing something about me was defective. Yet standing here, beneath the crimson-stained moon, the truth unfolded differently. "You are not pack-born in the way they are," he said. "Your blood carries authority older than structured ranks." The word authority echoed within me like a forgotten memory. My wolf stirred more strongly now. She no longer felt muted or suppressed. She stood tall inside me, alert and poised. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means," he said evenly, "they feared what they could not control." A silence stretched between us. From deeper within the forest, shadows shifted. I felt them before I saw them, warriors of the Obsidian pack emerging between the trees. Tall, disciplined figures moving with fluid precision. Their eyes flicked from their king to me. And then something extraordinary happened. One by one they lowered their gazes. Not out of fear. Out of instinct. A subtle acknowledgement that vibrated through the clearing. The Lycan King noticed. His expression did not change, though something thoughtful passed through his eyes. "You command presence without effort," he observed. "I do not understand it," I admitted. "You will." He turned slightly toward the approaching warriors. "She remains under my protection," he declared. The statement rippled through them like a current. None questioned it. None hesitated. Protection. The word settled differently than I expected. This was not rescue. This was recognition. He stepped closer to me, close enough that I felt the controlled heat of his body. Others will sense your awakening soon, he said in a lower tone meant only for me. Alphas crave leverage. Power attracts ambition. And you? I asked. His gaze held mine. I do not crave what I already command. A faint, unfamiliar warmth flickered beneath my ribs. He extended his hand. Stand fully, he instructed. I hesitated for only a breath before placing my palm in his. Energy sparked lightly at the contact, neither painful nor overwhelming but undeniably potent. He drew me to my feet. The moment I stood upright beside him, something shifted in the air. It was subtle yet undeniable, a recalibration of hierarchy. I felt taller, steadier, whole. The Lycan King's warriors straightened in response as though sensing alignment. You will come with me, he said. The Blackwood will shield you until clarity emerges. 1,000 questions crowded my mind. Who had my true mother been? Why had Marissa seemed so certain of my threat? How long had this power waited beneath my skin? Yet beneath the questions pulsed something far stronger. Resolve. If my stepmother believed she had erased me, she would soon understand the magnitude of her miscalculation. We began walking through the forest. The Obsidian warriors followed at measured distance, silent as shifting shadows. The Lycan King moved beside me rather than ahead, a detail I noticed immediately. The forest opened before us, trees parting subtly as we passed. You carry yourself differently already, he remarked after several minutes. I absorbed the sensation carefully. He was right. Fear no longer clung to me. The weight I had carried for years, self-doubt, hesitation, apology, had evaporated somewhere between death and rebirth. I feel anchored, I said slowly. That is sovereignty stabilizing, he replied. We reached a rise overlooking a vast clearing carved into the heart of Blackwood territory. Stone structures blended seamlessly with ancient trunks. Torches burned steadily along elevated platforms. Warriors trained in disciplined formation, their movements precise and formidable. The Obsidian Pack. Their territory exuded strength built through resilience rather than politics. As we descended toward the central grounds, activity gradually slowed. Eyes turned. Recognition sparked. Whispers carried along the night air. The Lycan King did not announce me. He did not need to. Presence announced itself. A female warrior approached, bowing respectfully to him before glancing toward me with measured curiosity. Your Majesty, she said. Scouts report unusual unrest near the eastern boundary. He nodded once. Increase patrol frequency. Her gaze lingered on me briefly before she stepped back. They sense change, I murmured. They sense you, he corrected. We entered the largest stone structure at the clearing's center. Inside, the air carried warmth and strength. A circular chamber dominated the space, lit by suspended lanterns that cast soft golden light across engraved stone. He guided me toward the center. Place your hand here, he instructed, indicating a carved symbol embedded in the floor. The marking resembled a crescent interwoven with branching lines, roots perhaps or veins. I knelt carefully, pressing my palm against the stone. Instantly, energy pulsed outward. Light flared briefly along the engraved lines, spreading in intricate patterns across the chamber floor. Gasps echoed softly around the perimeter where several warriors had gathered. The Lycan King watched intently. The light did not blaze violently. It glowed steadily, flaming. When it faded, warmth remained beneath my skin. You have bonded with the territory, he said quietly. Bonded. I repeated. The Blackwood recognizes its sovereign. The title struck deeper than before. I have no crown, I said. Crowns are crafted by men, he replied. Authority originates elsewhere. Footsteps approached from behind us. An elder of the Obsidian Pack entered the chamber, his silver hair braided tightly against his skull. His gaze fixed upon me with undisguised astonishment. It is true, he murmured. The dormant line has awakened. What line? I asked, rising to face him. He looked to the Lycan King for permission. Receiving a subtle nod, he spoke. Long before packs divided territories, There existed a lineage bound directly to the land itself. They were neither Alpha nor Luna. They answered only to balance. A current passed through my spine as though memory stirred. They vanished generations ago, he continued. We believed the blood extinguished. It was hidden, the Lycan King said. Suppressed. Marissa's face flashed through my thoughts. Hidden. Suppressed. Control through isolation. They knew, I whispered. The elder's expression darkened. If your awakening becomes widely known, ambitious leaders will attempt alliance through force. I understood the implication. Marriage. Claiming. Ownership disguised as strategy. The Lycan King's voice cut through the tension. No one will claim what the Blackwood has recognized. His declaration settled firmly within the chamber. Our eyes met again. There was no possession in his gaze. Only acknowledgement. You must decide what you intend to become, he said. The question resonated deeply. For years I had survived. Now survival no longer defined me. Images formed in my mind. Marissa's calculating smile. Alara's mocking laughter. The pack that had watched my suffering without intervention. I will return, I said evenly. The elder inhaled sharply. To confront them, he asked. To restore balance, I answered. The Lycan King regarded me thoughtfully. Retribution carries weight, he said. I carry greater weight now, I replied. A faint curve touched the corner of his mouth. Approval without indulgence. Then you will not return alone, he said. Power gathered subtly in the room, aligning with his decision. This was no longer a discarded daughter crawling back for validation. This was something far more dangerous. The girl they abandoned in the forest had dissolved beneath crimson moonlight. What rose in her place stood firmly within ancient stone, recognized by territory and king alike. Beyond the Blackwood, unaware of the storm gathering at its border, my stepmother continued her ascent toward greater influence. She believed her obstacle removed. She believed her secrets buried. She believed fear would secure her future. Soon she would learn that fear is a fragile foundation. And the forest always reclaims what is awakened within it. Chapter 3. Marked by the Blackwood. Power is not loud and it does not beg for attention or demand applause. It settles into the marrow and waits. 3 nights passed within the Blackwood, and with each rising moon, the force inside me grew more structured, less chaotic, more deliberate. I no longer felt as though I was holding something unfamiliar. It felt as though something ancient was remembering me. The Obsidian pack observed from a respectful distance. No hostility, no whispered resentment, just only awareness. Their Lycan King remained closest. He did not hover and he did not command my movements. Yet wherever I stepped, his presence adjusted subtly, protective without confinement. On the 3rd night he summoned me to the elevated ridge overlooking the forest basin. Mist clung low between the trees, silvered by moonlight. The air carried a charged stillness. You feel it, he said without turning. Yes. The eastern territories pulsed faintly in my senses. My former pack's land. A disturbance had begun. Word of my disappearance had spread. Leadership positions shifted quickly when obstacles were removed. They believe you dead, he continued. Marissa would have ensured the narrative, I replied. A muscle tightened along his jaw. You speak her name without tremor. I have shed the version of myself that feared her. He studied me then, assessing whether resolve outweighed impulse. It is time, he said. For what? For acknowledgement. Before I could question him further, he extended his hand. The gesture carried gravity. Walk with me. We descended into a sacred clearing deeper within Blackwood territory. Ancient stones encircled a flat expanse of earth etched with symbols older than pact treaties. Torches burned steadily despite the absence of wind. Obsidian warriors stood positioned along the perimeter, silent and attentive. The elder I had met earlier inclined his head when we approached. It is prepared, he said. Prepared. The Lycan King guided me to the center of the circle. The territory recognizes you, he said quietly. Tonight the bond will anchor fully. Anchor? I asked. He met my gaze directly. Power without anchoring fractures. This will stabilize what has awakened. A subtle tension rippled through my chest. I understood instinctively that this moment would alter the course of everything. What is required? I asked. He removed a dagger from his belt. Obsidian blade, flawless and dark as midnight. My blood, he said evenly. And yours. The significance registered immediately. This was not a mating ritual. This was alignment. A merging of territorial sovereignty with land-bound lineage. He sliced his palm first without hesitation. Crimson flowed steadily. The scent of iron filled the clearing. Then he handed me the blade. I pressed it against my own skin. The cut burned briefly before warmth spread outward. We stepped closer. Speak your name, he instructed. I inhaled deeply. 4 years, my name had been spoken with dismissal or accusation, but now it resonated differently. I am Seraphine Vale. The Lycan King placed his bleeding palm against mine. I am Kaler, sovereign of the Obsidian Lycan line. The moment our blood mingled, the ground beneath us pulsed violently. Energy surged upward through my spine, expanding outward in brilliant arcs of light that traced the symbols etched into the earth. The circle ignited in radiant silver. The forest answered. Branches bent inward. Wind roared through the clearing. Wolves across the territory lifted their muzzles in unified howl. Pain flared briefly, not injury but transformation. I felt the bond crystallize. A mark formed along my collarbone, warm and luminous beneath the skin, an intricate crescent entwined with branching veins. Gasps rippled among the warriors. The elder fell to one knee. She bears the sovereign sigil, he said reverently. Kaler did not kneel. He held my gaze steadily as the light faded. It is done, he said. The air settled gradually. My heartbeat steadied into powerful rhythm. I could feel the entire Blackwood now, every creature, every shifting breeze. The land responded to my awareness like an extension of my own body. You are bound to this territory, Kaler said. And it to you. And you? I asked quietly. His expression remained composed. Our blood aligns through this bond. It does not bind your will. A deliberate clarification. I appreciated it. Beyond the clearing, something shifted abruptly, sharp and disruptive. I felt it instantly. A ripple of foreign energy pressing against the eastern boundary. Kaler sensed it as well. They have begun searching, he said. They will not expect me to return. No, he agreed. They will expect weakness. A faint smile curved my lips. They will be disappointed. By dawn, word had spread across neighboring territories that unusual power stirred within Blackwood borders. Scouts reported heightened patrols along pack lines. Political tension simmered quietly. Kaler stood beside me atop the ridge once more. If you cross into their land, you do so as sovereign, he said. Your presence alone will challenge existing hierarchy. I do not seek to destabilize every pack, I replied. Only the one that betrayed me. Destabilization will follow regardless. His honesty carried no judgment, only calculation. I will walk openly, I said. No stealth. No concealment. That will provoke confrontation. I welcome it. A brief silence stretched between us. You have grown quickly, he observed. I have always been this, I said. They simply kept me contained. Below us, Obsidian warriors assembled in disciplined formation. They awaited command without question. You will not go alone, Kaler said. I turned to him. I will not hide behind protection either. You misunderstand, he replied. They do not follow you for defense. They follow to witness. Witness what? The moment balance shifts. His words carried weight. Very well, let them witness. We crossed the eastern boundary at midday. The air changed subtly as we entered my former pack's territory, less ancient, more structured. Guard towers lined the perimeter. Warriors patrolled in visible rotations. They froze when they saw us. Recognition flickered, followed swiftly by disbelief. Seraphine, one whispered. I walked forward without pause. Murmurs spread rapidly. Warriors stepped aside instinctively, forming a path through the central grounds. The estate rose ahead, marble columns gleaming beneath the sun. The same halls where I had been diminished now stood before me as though unaware of the storm approaching. Alara emerged first. Her golden hair framed a face drained of color. "You," she began. The air around her constricted subtly. Her wolf recoiled. Not from aggression. From authority. "Your composure falters easily," I said calmly. She attempted to shift. Nothing happened. Panic flared in her eyes. Marissa appeared moments later, draped in elegant attire befitting her status. She halted upon seeing the Obsidian warriors behind me. Then her gaze locked onto Kalar. Recognition. Concern. And finally, calculation. "You bring outside influence into our lands," she said smoothly. "I bring truth," I replied. Warriors gathered around the courtyard perimeter. Whispers intensified. Marissa's expression remained composed, though tension tightened her posture. "You disappeared," she said. "We mourned." "Your mourning lacked sincerity," I answered evenly. Her gaze flickered toward Alara briefly. "You accuse without evidence," she said. The mark along my collarbone warmed. The air thickened. "I require no accusation," I said. "The land speaks." A tremor rippled across the courtyard stones. Gasps echoed as faint silver lines traced outward from beneath my feet, spreading across the ground like living veins. Warriors instinctively lowered their heads. Marissa's composure fractured for a heartbeat. "You have aligned with forbidden forces," she said sharply. "I have aligned with balance." Her wolf stirred defensively beneath her skin. Kalar remained silent beside me, his presence commanding yet restrained. "This pack thrives under order," Marissa continued. "You return with chaos. Order built on deception cannot endure," I replied. I stepped closer. "Alara accused me falsely," I said. "You administered poison. You exiled me to Blackwood territory." A collective murmur rose among the gathered wolves. Marissa's gaze hardened. "Prove it," she demanded. "Very well." I extended my senses outward. The earth beneath the courtyard responded immediately. Memories imprinted upon it surfaced. Footsteps dragging an unconscious body, the scent of wolfsbane, the vehicle departing toward forbidden land. The ground shimmered faintly. Warriors stepped back as images flickered briefly across the stone like reflections in water. Gasp sharpened. Alara staggered. Marissa's face paled. "You manipulated the land," she whispered. "I awakened what it already held." Silence blanketed the courtyard. The pack alpha emerged from the estate then, a towering figure whose authority once felt immovable. Now he looked uncertain. "Is this true?" he demanded, gaze shifting between us. Marissa remained silent. That silence condemned her. Alara collapsed to her knees, trembling as her wolf remained suppressed. The alpha inhaled sharply. "Attempted execution without council approval violates pack law," he said slowly. Marissa lifted her chin. "She endangered us." "She endangered your control," I corrected. The alpha's eyes shifted toward me again. "You return changed," he said. "I return aligned." Power pulsed outward subtly. Warriors across the courtyard lowered to one knee without instruction. Even the alpha struggled to maintain upright posture. Marissa's breath quickened. "You cannot strip me of title," she said, voice cracking. "I do not need to," I replied. The pack had already decided. Balance was restoring itself. And this time I stood at its center. Chapter 4. The Pack That Chose Silence. Power reveals character faster than fear ever could. I stood at the center of the courtyard where I had once lowered my eyes to avoid confrontation. The same stone beneath my feet now shimmered faintly with the resonance of truth. Warriors remained kneeling. Elders stood rigid with stunned comprehension. The alpha's authority hung in fragile suspension. And Marissa, the woman who had orchestrated my death, faced a reality she could no longer manipulate. "You have influenced them," she said, voice steadier than her pulse. "This spectacle proves nothing." I studied her carefully. Years ago, I would have searched for approval in her expression. I would have hoped for some fragment of remorse. Now I saw only calculation unraveling. The land itself has spoken, I replied evenly. Your actions left an imprint. You assumed it would vanish with me. The Alpha turned toward her, eyes sharpened by dawning recognition. You exiled her beyond council knowledge, he said slowly. You administered wolfsbane without lawful trial. Marissa's gaze did not waver. I protected this pack. You protected your ambition, I answered. A tremor passed through the gathered wolves. Not chaos, realization. Ilara remained on her knees, trembling as her wolf strained uselessly beneath her skin. Sweat beaded at her temples. She avoided my eyes entirely. Kalar stood beside me in composed silence, his presence steady and formidable. He had not intervened. He did not need to. The shift unfolding belonged to this territory. The Alpha stepped forward. You risked alliance stability, he said to Marissa. You jeopardized internal trust. Her composure finally fractured. I preserved our hierarchy, she snapped. You all sensed it. She unsettled the balance. Warriors faltered in her presence. Even you questioned your own command. Her accusation echoed across the courtyard. A heavy truth lingered beneath her words. They had sensed it. They had chosen silence instead. I turned slowly, meeting the gaze of warrior after warrior. You saw, I said calmly. You sensed the abuse, the isolation, the deliberate diminishment. No one answered. Silence thickened like fog. The Alpha's jaw tightened. Pack cohesion requires order, he said. Cohesion built on fear decays, I replied. The sovereign mark beneath my collarbone warmed subtly, responding to the tension around us. Marissa's eyes flickered to it. That symbol does not grant you dominion here, she said. No, I agreed. My birthright does. The courtyard air shifted again, subtle but undeniable. The earth beneath us vibrated with faint silver lines that pulsed outward in measured rhythm. The Alpha inhaled sharply. What exactly are you claiming? He asked. I claim restoration, I answered. This pack permitted injustice through complacency. Authority must answer for that. A murmur rippled through the ranks. Marissa straightened. You return with threats and spectacle, she said. You speak of balance, yet you seek humiliation. I held her gaze without hesitation. Humiliation arises when truth stands uncovered. The Alpha looked between us, conflict evident in his posture. You request punishment? He asked. I require accountability, I corrected. The distinction mattered. Ilara finally found her voice. She lies, she whispered, though her words lacked conviction. I stepped toward her slowly. Shift, I said. She strained again. Nothing answered her. Her panic deepened. Your wolf refuses because it recognizes hierarchy, I said quietly. Tears pooled in her eyes. You cannot suppress me indefinitely, she said. I suppress nothing, I replied. Your instability arises from within. The Alpha's expression darkened. Council will convene, he declared. No, I said firmly. His gaze snapped to mine. Council deliberation allows narrative distortion, I continued. The land has already delivered its verdict. I extended my senses outward once more. The courtyard's stone glowed faintly, replaying fragments of that night. The vial, the blows, the transport toward Blackwood, clear and undeniable. Gasps erupted. The Alpha's shoulders stiffened. Marissa remained motionless, though color drained from her features. You attempted execution beyond lawful authority, the Alpha said heavily. That constitutes treason against pack law. Her chin lifted defiantly. You lack the courage to enforce it. The statement cut deeply because it carried history. The Alpha's silence confirmed it. I stepped forward again. Then I will. The air constricted. Warriors looked up sharply. You hold no formal rank within this territory, the Alpha said carefully. I met his gaze directly. I hold recognition from the Blackwood. The weight of that acknowledgement pressed against every wolf present. Even he felt it. Kalar stepped forward then, not to overshadow but to anchor. The sovereign line predates structured pack authority, he said calmly. Her standing supersedes local hierarchy when balance fractures. The alpha's composure tightened. You bring outside influence into internal judgment, he said. I bring ancestral authority, Kaler replied evenly. Silence fell again. The alpha turned toward the gathered warriors. Those who witnessed injustice and remained silent share responsibility, he said slowly. A ripple of unease spread. I studied their faces. Fear, regret, conflict, and none malicious. Yet none courageous either. Silence preserves oppression, I said. This pack will no longer operate under it. Marissa's voice sharpened. You would dismantle generations of structure because you suffered? I would dismantle corruption, I answered. The alpha inhaled deeply. Marissa Vale, he said formally, you are stripped of Luna title effective immediately. A collective gasp broke the tension. Alara let out a strangled cry. Marissa did not move. You cannot exile me, she said, though uncertainty crept into her tone. You will face territorial banishment, the alpha declared. Her gaze snapped toward me. You orchestrated this. I revealed it, I corrected. She stepped forward, fury flashing openly now. You believe power will shield you from consequence? Every territory will view you as destabilizing. Then they will adjust, I replied calmly. Her control unraveled entirely. You were nothing, she hissed. A weak inconvenience. I held her stare steadily. You mistook restraint for weakness. The sovereign mark flared faintly. Warriors instinctively bowed their heads again. Marissa staggered back a half step, breath unsteady. You will leave this territory by sunset, the alpha continued. Alone. Her eyes widened. You would send me to the outskirts without escort? You showed none, he answered coldly. Alara crawled toward her mother. Please, she whispered. The alpha's gaze shifted to her. Alara Vale, you knowingly participated in unlawful exile. She shook her head frantically. I only followed instruction. Accountability does not dissolve through obedience, he said. Her wolf remained silent within her. You are stripped of pack privileges, he declared. Your bond remains suppressed until evaluation by neutral counsel. Her scream pierced the courtyard. Suppression of wolf bond signified humiliation beyond public disgrace. It stripped status. It stripped belonging. Marissa's breathing grew erratic. You destroy your own bloodline, she said to the alpha. He looked exhausted rather than triumphant. I preserve what remains of integrity. The courtyard slowly shifted from shock toward acceptance. Balance recalibrated. Marissa's eyes found mine once more. This will not end with this territory, she said quietly. I am aware, I replied. She held my gaze for a long moment, hatred simmering beneath defeat. Then she turned away. Warriors stepped aside as she exited the courtyard without escort. Alara remained kneeling, sobbing quietly. The alpha faced me again. You have achieved retribution, he said. I have restored equilibrium, I corrected. His posture softened slightly. You returned transformed. I returned revealed. Silence stretched between us. You challenge my authority simply by standing here, he admitted. That depends on how you choose to lead from this point forward, I replied. A flicker of humility passed through his eyes. You will leave, he asked. Yes. You do not intend to claim this territory? The question carried both relief and uncertainty. I intend to oversee balance, I said. Leadership remains yours, if you uphold it. A slow nod followed. Kaler's presence beside me remained steady, observant. As we turned to leave the courtyard, warriors parted once more. This time the gesture felt different. Yet as we reached the estate gates, a new sensation brushed against my awareness. Beyond the borders of this pack, other territories had felt the shift. Power never moves unnoticed. Kaler sensed it too. Their curiosity sharpens, he said quietly. Let it, I replied. The sun dipped lower across the horizon as we crossed back toward Blackwood land. Behind me, the pack that once silenced my suffering stood altered. Ahead of me, a broader landscape stirred. Marissa's removal resolved only the surface fracture. Whispers would spread quickly. Sovereign blood awakened. Lycan King aligned. Balance reasserted. And where balance rises, opposition gathers. The forest welcomed me as we crossed its threshold once more. It did not celebrate. It steadied. Because restoration within one territory had only begun to ripple outward. And something beyond familiar borders had taken notice. Chapter 5. The crown the forest chose. Power restored never remains local. Within 2 days of Marissa's exile, envoys began circling the Blackwood perimeter. They did not cross the boundary, they just observed. Messengers carried carefully worded inquiries from neighboring packs, thinly veiled attempts to measure the shift that had unsettled regional balance. Some offered congratulations masked as diplomacy. Others expressed concern over destabilizing influence. Curiosity often disguises anxiety. I stood beside Kaler on the high ridge as the third delegation retreated beyond the treeline. They sense recalibration, he said. They sense vulnerability, I replied. His gaze shifted toward me. You consider yourself vulnerable? I consider ambition inevitable. The forest stirred faintly in agreement. Word of a sovereign awakening, aligned with the Obsidian Lycan King, traveled swiftly. Packs built upon hierarchy perceived independent authority as threat. Kaler turned slightly toward me. They will test you, he said. Let them. The mark along my collarbone pulsed softly, steady and grounded. Balance required demonstration. By nightfall the test arrived. A coalition alpha, Dominic of the Ashmore territory, crossed into Blackwood borders without formal invitation. He brought 20 warriors. Deliberate provocation. The Obsidian patrol intercepted them swiftly, escorting the group into the central clearing where torches cast long, shifting shadows. I remained calm as Dominic approached. He was imposing, broad, scarred, accustomed to compliance. His eyes scanned the clearing before settling on me. So, he said, voice resonant with skepticism. The rumor carries truth. Kaler remained at my side, silent yet commanding. You stand within sovereign territory, Kaler stated evenly. State your purpose. Dominic's gaze flicked between us. I seek clarification, he replied. A dormant bloodline awakens. A Lycan King aligns. Such shifts affect more than one border. They affect only those who built power upon instability, I said calmly. A faint smile curved his mouth. You speak boldly for one recently presumed deceased. I speak accurately. He stepped closer, exuding calculated intimidation. You carry ancient authority, perhaps, he said. Yet authority without established rank invites challenge. The forest quieted around us. Warriors along the perimeter tightened their formation. Dominic's wolf pressed outward visibly beneath his skin. Challenge accepted. You propose demonstration? I asked. His eyes sharpened. I propose clarity. Kaler did not interfere. He understood as I did. This confrontation extended beyond ego. It represented regional recalibration. I stepped forward into the center of the clearing. Very well, I said evenly. Clarity. Dominic shifted first. Bones lengthened. Fur erupted across muscle. His wolf towered, immense and battle-worn. A ripple of tension passed through both packs. I remained still. I did not shift immediately. Instead, I closed my eyes briefly and reached downward, into the soil, into the pulse beneath Blackwood roots. The land answered instantly. Energy surged upward through my spine, expanding outward in radiant arcs. When I shifted, it was not explosive, it was seamless. My wolf emerged taller than memory, her coat dark as midnight with silver threading through fur like starlight. Eyes luminous, presence immense. A hush fell. Dominic lunged. Before he reached me, the earth itself responded. Vines erupted upward, wrapping briefly around his forelegs, halting momentum without cruelty, only restraint. He snarled, breaking free, circling warily now. I advanced slowly. When our wolves collided, the impact resounded across the clearing. His strength was formidable, honed through years of dominance. Yet he fought within defined hierarchy. I moved within sovereignty. I did not tear, I did not maim. I pressed and pushed, overwhelmed through grounded authority. With a final surge, I forced him onto his side. Silence consumed the clearing. His wolf stilled beneath mine. Submission radiated outward, not through fear but recognition. I stepped back immediately, allowing him space to rise. When he shifted back into human form, breath unsteady, respect had replaced skepticism. "You command territory beyond your own pack," he said. "I command balance," I corrected. He inclined his head. "Then the rumor underestimates you. I prefer it that way." Dominic turned toward Kayla. "You align wisely." Kayla's voice remained steady. "She requires no endorsement." Dominic exhaled slowly. "Ashmore will not oppose Blackwood's sovereignty." He signaled his warriors. They withdrew without further resistance. The clearing exhaled collectively once they vanished beyond the treeline. Kayla approached me. "You demonstrated restraint," he observed. "Authority without restraint breeds instability." His gaze held quiet approval. "You stepped fully into your role." "I was always meant to." Weeks passed, whispers settled into acknowledgement, neighboring packs adjusted posture accordingly. Some sought alliance. Others maintained respectful distance. Balance stabilized. Then word arrived. Marissa had not vanished quietly, she had sought refuge with minor territories, weaving narratives of betrayal and unlawful exile. Her ambition remained intact. "She builds opposition," the elder reported. I absorbed the information without surprise. "She will attempt to gather dissent," Kayla said. "Then she underestimates how thoroughly truth travels," I replied. 2 days later, Marissa herself appeared at the Blackwood boundary, alone and exhausted. The patrol escorted her inward under watchful eyes. She stood before me once more in the central clearing. No silk gown, no composed elegance. Travel-worn. Pride strained thin. "You thrive quickly," she said quietly. "The forest thrives with me." Her gaze flickered toward the surrounding warriors who observed in composed silence. "You misunderstand ambition," she said. "Packs fear what they cannot predict." "They feared you," I corrected gently. Her shoulders tensed. "You believe yourself immune to corruption?" "I believe transparency prevents it." She studied me closely. "You could reinstate me," she said. "Stabilize dissent. Present unity." I held her gaze steadily. "You mistake reconciliation for restoration." A flicker of frustration surfaced. "You will make enemies," she warned. "I already have." Silence stretched between us. Then for the first time her voice lost its edge. "I sought control because power uncontained destroys." "Uncontained power guided by fear destroys," I replied softly. She inhaled slowly. "You surpass what I anticipated." "I surpassed what you allowed." The forest stirred faintly. "You may remain within Blackwood borders," I said finally. "Under observation. Without rank. Without manipulation." Her eyes widened slightly. "You would offer sanctuary?" "I offer neutrality." She studied me as though seeing me for the first time. "Your mercy confuses me," she admitted. "It is not mercy," I corrected. "It is containment through transparency." A long silence followed. Finally she inclined her head, not deeply but undeniably. The shift concluded. That night, as moonlight poured silver across the ridge, Kayla stood beside me once more. "You have secured internal stability and external acknowledgement," he said. "I have secured equilibrium for now." He studied me thoughtfully. "You hold influence that could rival structured alpha councils." "I have no interest in rivalry." "What do you hold interest in?" he asked. I turned toward the forest stretching endlessly before us. "In preservation." Wind swept through the trees, carrying distant howls of contentment. Kayla's presence remained steady at my side. "You are not my Luna," he said quietly. "I am not. You are not subordinate. I never was." A faint smile touched his expression. The Blackwood recognizes you as sovereign. And you? I asked. He held my gaze without hesitation. I recognize you as equal. The word settled firmly between us. Equal. Below us, Obsidian warriors trained beneath torchlight, their movements steady and unified. Beyond the borders, territories recalibrated to the reality of awakened sovereignty. The girl abandoned in darkness had dissolved completely. In her place stood a woman bound directly to land and lineage, unowned, uncontained, undeniable. The forest did not crown me with jewels. It crowned me with responsibility, and I carried it willingly, because they once dragged me across stone and soil, believing silence would bury me. Instead, the earth remembered, and it chose me. What sovereignty cost? Power is loud when it is insecure. It is quiet when it is earned. Blackwood did not erupt in celebration after Dominic's departure. There were no feasts, no proclamations, no spectacle. There was order. Warriors trained with steadier discipline. Elders spoke without whispering. Borders held without tension. Stability does not roar, it settles. Marissa remained within Blackwood, stripped of title, stripped of influence. She moved carefully now, watched by those who once followed her without question. Ambition without transparency fades quickly in open light. She was not destroyed. She was neutralized. And that distinction mattered. The packs beyond our borders recalibrated. Some approached with cautious respect. Others retreated into guarded distance. A few tested gently and withdrew just as swiftly. No one crossed without consequence. Kaler did not attempt to dominate councils or expand territory. He stood beside me, not in front, not above, but as equal. The word still carried weight. The Lycan King does not kneel. Yet he aligns, and alignment is rarer than conquest. At dusk one evening, as wind moved through the high ridge and torches flickered below, Kaler spoke without looking at me. You could command more. I could, I answered. And yet, I choose balance. He nodded once. That was enough. The girl abandoned in forbidden territory did not survive. She transformed. Not into vengeance. Not into cruelty. Into sovereignty. The forest did not crown me with jewels. It crowned me with consequence. They once dragged me across stone and soil, believing silence would erase me. They believed exile was burial. But the earth remembers everything pressed into it. Betrayal, blood, ambition, and awakening. I was not rescued. I was revealed. And when the forest chose me, it did not whisper. It aligned. They thought exile would end her story. It began it. They believed power belonged to whoever claimed it first. They were wrong. Because authority taken through fear fractures. Authority aligned through truth endures. If you've ever been cast out, if you've ever been silenced, if you've ever been told you were nothing, remember this. The ground beneath you remembers who you are. And when the moment comes, it will choose. Subscribe for more dark werewolf stories about power, betrayal, and the bonds that refuse to break. Because the next sovereign may not choose mercy.